Hey, everybody. Welcome to Wacky Weekend. Artie is still unable to make his live stream, and he's asked me to hold it up for him. Artie is somewhere on the East Coast visiting family he hasn't seen in many years. And there we go. Had to turn that off. So, he also had sort of a small family tragedy today. A distant aunt that he doesn't really know fell and severely injured, and then on the way to the hospital had a heart attack. So the family is having a vigil. So Artie will not be joining us today unless he suddenly changes his mind. So I want to welcome you all in. Unfortunately, I did not have a lot planned. At least last week I had something I could go to a backup. I've got just a little bit, and then I'm just going to throw it up here, and people who want to come up and chat. So let me see. Hello, Steve, 87 PSAP. Hey, Peyton Rail fan, welcome in. Papa John's Trains, how are you? Almar, welcome in. Mel's, g'day. Randall Ellison, hello. Hot Dog Pilot Andy up late, and you've got a show in the morning, but and hopefully I'll wake up in time to be there. Hello, Sparky, how are you? Stormy Sky Rail Productions, welcome in. So like I said, everybody just keep their thoughts out for Artie because he's had a wild trip in the United States his first week or so here. Between some of the hassles getting over here, and then he got to the East Coast, went to Amherst. Looks like he had a great time at Amherst. And then he's had a little bit of a family trauma here because he does have relatives that live in the United States. Part of the reason he comes, he actually even owns property in the United States, but he'll tell you more about that. In fact, next week, if all goes according to plan, Artie will be back running the live stream, but he'll be running it from right here where I'm sitting. We'll be doing it all here. So be that as it may, I'd like to welcome everybody coming in and those hanging out in the background and more of you coming in. I did want to just, if you don't really know me, well, no, he won't be here at York. Obviously, I just threw this as a background because Joyce is walking back and through with the laundry and doesn't want to be on camera right now. Anyhow, anybody who knows my channel knows I do European trains. I also do HO scale. It's 3 rail. And I focus on Germany and then a couple other countries, Austria and the Czech Republic specifically. I just say Central Europe, but still 85% of my trains are German. Last week, I talked about my Fowler car system a bit. I didn't really do much work on it this week, and I was hoping to work on it today, but things keep coming up. Wednesday, I got called down to about a 3-hour drive to go see my son, who he and his new bride are looking at a house and wanted dad's approval on that house. So I drove all the way down there and spent Wednesday. Wednesday's one of my free days because Tuesdays and Thursdays I am held captive by my grandson that I have to entertain for many hours each day. But anyhow, even though I do 3 rail and I know more about German trains than I do about American trains, the company I tend to buy from, which is called Märklin, which, believe it or not, most Americans never heard of it, but it's the largest model train company in the world. They sell more trains through their various brands than any other train company, and that includes even Hornby with everything Hornby in the UK owns. Märklin is the biggest seller, and they're 3 rail, and obviously around the world, DC. Now, if you've ever heard of the company Trix, since the 1990s or 1987, whatever it was, Trix has been owned by Märklin, and Trix releases Märklin's 2 rail. Now, again, people get confused when you say 3 rail versus 2 rail. Technically, it's AC versus DC, but people argue that point all the time. But be that as it may, my tracks have 3 rail. Anyhow, my company does do American stock because Germans do like American rail. They have a very strong fixation with American rail, and usually each year Märklin will release at least 1 American locomotive and set of cars. And so I thought I might try to share that with you just quickly, just to show you what they released just in the last year. Now, they're all variations of the same thing. And one of them is, what do you guys call it? A false flag, where it's not an actual locomotive, but it's based on something. Well, you'll get the idea when I show it to you. But if I do this real quick, and then I'll just put the link up, and people can come up. But we do get American stock offered through my European company, not nearly the stuff. Now I know the American company MTH, before they went under, actually made 3-rail stuff for the Maryland track system that I use. And whoever acquired MTH, I keep forgetting which company got most of their stuff, but there's been no discussion. There's been no mention that they're going to continue making 3-rail stuff. But I know MTH did make some 3-rail stuff with the shoe. And if I wanted to give you there to explain, let me take this background off because that makes it harder to show this. Where are we at? Let's do settings, virtual background, none. There we go. This will make it easier to see. But there you can see at the bottom of my train a ski, a 3rd rail. And if I can grab this track here, here is a radius. Is this radius 3 or 4? It is radius 4. Here's a radius 4 track. This is a curve. And if you look carefully right there, there's a great angle. You can see there's these little nubs in the middle of the track. And that's the 3rd rail. If you look underneath, you will see there's actually a metal strip under here that those nubs are connected to. So it's actually a third full rail, but Maryland makes it into nubs here, so it's less obvious when you build your layout. And of course, this is pre-bedded, and they call this C track. And then there is K track, which is the normal track that you have to make your own ballast and everything for, but they make it the same way. But be that as it may, this shoe is your pickup. That's your power pickup. And it runs along the skis. And actually, it gives you more consistent power than powering off the 2 side rails with pickups on the wheels. This gives you a much more consistent power pickup. But anyhow, they do American stock. And so I thought I'd share some pictures of that with you. This is just what Maryland released last year. They released one of the most common and most familiar American locomotives. So let me do a share screen here. And there we go. So voila. So here it is. They released 2 versions of this. I'm going to get this wrong. Randall, save me. It's an ES44, right? Hey, hello, Haunted Rails. And Jake has come in. But they released this. This is actually already sold out. You cannot buy this anymore unless you find a dealer who has one on his shelves. But like my shop in Germany is already sold out. But they released 2 versions of this Union Pacific ES44. Here's the first version, and here's the second version. And I think you can still get this. That AJC Kids, that's an American company. They're down in Texas. That's an American store. They're an awesome store, but they specialize in European trains. Annie, Jewel, and Charlie, and Kids, or online AJC Kids. But they are a big-time Maryland and foreign train outlet. But you can get this from them. They have it in stock right now, but they're expensive. So, but that's kind of a nice version. I really was debating on getting this version, but I had so many trains I had on order last year that this would have been, well, if something got canceled or something didn't come through, I would have picked this up. And by the time I thought, well, maybe I could pick this up, they were sold out. Then, and this was released middle of last year. Then right before Christmas, they released this version of the ES44. And this really had me going. I could still buy this one if I wanted. This Kansas City Southern. And I know my friend Randall Ellison saw this one. Hey, Derek Alexander, how are you? The flag is the old scheme and the first one was the new scheme. Okay. But you still see them both running. I mean, you can go to anybody who's putting up Union Pacific trains, actual, live streaming trains or rail fanning videos. And you'll still see the Union Pacific yellow with the flag on it. But I really like this one. I just like the livery here. It's similar to BNSF. And I really thought they would release a BNSF version, but they released this Kansas City Southern version, which again is really sharp. You hopefully will have tracked down by next weekend. Awesome. Hey, Race Fan, how are you? Race Fan already didn't change his look. In fact, at the risk of sounding impertinent, I probably have been on this show as much or more than Artie, because even though I've missed a few, he's missed a few, and I've kept it going for him. But be that as it may, so now you've got this Kansas City Southern, and this is on my, if nothing else happens, maybe I'll pick this one up. But just as I was thinking that, Miraklin announced a couple of weeks ago they are releasing this version, and this is the false flag version. Well, actually, no, these are a couple of more pictures of this one, this Kansas City Southern. And again, just amazingly detailed loco. And if you don't know, Miraklin is very high quality. They are as good as it gets. And then here's a picture of the real thing it's modeled on. But this is the one they've now released where I'm really scratching my head. And from what I understand, and Randall, you and maybe anybody else, Stories guys, some of you that might be familiar with this, this is a non-livery. In other words, this is a celebration of the old Pennsylvania Railroad livery, but they've put the E44 in that livery. I don't think there's an actual E44 out there in this livery, or is there? Because this is the old Pennsylvania Railroad. But Pennsylvania Railroad could work for me because even though I model Central Europe, Pennsylvania Railroad trains at one time did come through the Toledo area, Baltimore and Ohio and Pennsylvania. So heritage unit, right, a heritage unit, but is there an actual one? Is there an E44 out there that's actually in this retro livery? So I'll just wait and see. But this one now really has my interest even more because I do like Pennsylvania Railroad color schemes. And I am one of those people that if I'm not buying a train specific to my world, I'm attracted to the livery, the paint scheme, you know. Oh, so it is out there. It's a Norfolk Southern, and it actually does exist in this livery. That gives me an even better reason to maybe pick it up. Well, I'm assuming Miraklin always bases their models on actual, you know, unless they're doing a completely fictional one. So this one says it's 8102. So I would assume it was a running number 8102 because Miraklin always bases their models on actual locomotives and cars. Even when they do a quote fictional, it's still based on an actual model. So yes, there is. So that's even better because I do like this one. Now, if they made one like this in New York Central livery or CSX, I know I could get a CSX ES44 from somebody somewhere, but it would have to be 3 rail. So, but this is one I could justify and then get some matching cars because the nice thing about my 3 rail is I can get anybody's cars. I can get anybody's cars. I can get Athearn. I can get MTH. I can get anybody's HO cars and run them on my track because you can run DC 2-rail freight and rolling stock, and I don't even technically have to change the wheels. If you saw some Miraklin cars you liked, for example, here is a set of hoppers that they released to go with the Union Pacifics that you saw. This came out last year. These are still available in many shops, but this was a very expensive set of 12 hoppers. And I think they go for, and they sell it as one set, but I think it goes for like $40 to $50 per car. It's like a $600 set of hoppers. But you guys, if you thought those were really cool and really sharp, you could not buy those and put them straight on your layup. You would short them out because 3-rail cars do not have insulated axles or wheels, depending on what part they're insulating. they are straight through. So it would be just like laying any piece of metal across your rail. It would create a short. You would have to replace the stock wheels they come with standard 2-rail wheels. Hey, John, how are you? And Terry's Trains Down Under. Nice to have you all here. Come on, over here. But I could buy anything I see at a train show, even though I'm 3-rail. I could buy, I love that rake of New York Central passenger trains, because I am a passenger train guy. I'm not a freight guy. I'm a passenger train guy. I could buy those and take them home. And while I usually do switch out the axles of the wheels, I don't have to. They're fine on my layout. But the other way, if you go and see Märklin or Rocco 3-rail AC or Pico, although Pico makes very minimal rolling stock in 3-rail. Certain special trains they will. But if you see that in if you see specifically Märklin, if you buy it, change the wheels first. I can't tell you. I have been on live streams where guys say, "Hey, Anthony, I was thinking of you and I got this Märklin. I'm going to put it on my track here. This is really cool. I bought like 3 of these. I'm going to put it." I'd be typing it. "No, don't put it on your track." And they're like, "What happened to my track?" And I'm like, "You shorted it out. You can't use the Märklin cars on your track. You either have to switch out the wheels, or if you really like something from Märklin, you have to buy the Trix version of it." So, I mean, in the past, I've talked about my 3-rail system. Not that I try to convert people. I just, I wasn't even in model trains as a kid. I got into model trains about 7 years ago. From the years 2003 to 2017, I was in Germany every June. And I traveled by train extensively. I never rented a car. My wife and I was part of, I did an exchange program. And so I would take kids from Toledo and take them over to Germany for 3 weeks. And we always traveled by train. And I fell in love with traveling by train. It was just amazing. You don't have the pressure. You just sit back, relax, move around, get up, stretch your legs. You don't have to stop for a rest area. There's usually a food deck somewhere, or somebody brings food, or you pack your food and eat while you're at the beautiful scenery out the windows. I fell in love with traveling by train. So I just wanted a memento. I bought a German train, and without thinking about it or knowing anything about it, it was a Märklin train. And then I needed track. So I got Märklin track. And then all of a sudden, like, I'm doing 3-rail. And by that time it was too late it wasn't too late. I could always, but I decided I really liked it because 3-rail is more efficient. You have less issues than if you're using 2-rail. Märklin, you don't need as much wiring. You don't need drop bus wiring. I have a massively decent sized table here. It's 23 feet along the back, and then 12 feet, actually 11 and a half feet and 12 and a half feet lengthwise, with a small 6-foot section in the middle that's about 2.5 foot wide. And I've got 2 lines of power. I've got the main line, and then I have a parking area, and I have an additional power line going to that just because it's so far off. But really, I could run it all with just the one attachment I have. I don't have to have bus wiring all the way around because AC is more efficient energy at this level. When you go up into the areas that Sparky works in, then it flips. DC is more efficient than AC. But at this household level, AC is more efficient power delivery. So you get a very strong, consistent current throughout the whole track. I run 6 lanes. I do a Friday live stream where I run 6 trains at a time on basically the one power connection coming from my control system to the track. So there are advantages to it, but the disadvantages is if you're running American trains, nobody does 3-rail. Lionel does 3-rail and O-gauge, of course. But hey, Split Rock is here. Hello, Thomas. I'm doing the show solo tonight. This is Artie's show, but he wanted me to do the show again because he likes to keep people going. But the thing is, because I was modeling Central Europe anyhow, it didn't matter. And Märklin is the 800-pound gorilla in the room. And I just kept doing Märklin and Märklin and Märklin. And then I started learning about trains, and I still don't know much about trains. And when it comes to American trains, I know even less. So my apologies to all my fellow Americans. So anyhow, that's just the babble I thought I could start the show off with. And now I'm going to put the link in here, and anybody who wants to come up and just yak away, hop on in and we'll yak. I really going to try to keep this under. I wound up going to over 2 hours last week, and I think I'd like to keep it an hour and 15 minutes today. So if anybody wants to come up and chat, otherwise I'm just going to sit here and stare at the screen until you all either run away freaked out. I'll just sit here. Because I didn't have time to really prepare anything today. All right, we got Randall Ellison has already come in to save my hide. Let me pop Randall up here as soon as I can get my mouse to come over and find him. There he is. Add to stage.
Hey, what's happening, Anthony?
How are you?
I'm making it pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing hunky-dory, peachy keen, and ducky fine.
Anyway, I pop in here for a little bit, and I'll turn my train on over there in just a second. But I was going to let you have a good close-up look at this engine here, Anthony.
Okay.
That I was telling you about here. So let me change my camera around right quick, if it'll do it. The camera. I don't think it's ever been shown really up close and personal. So
there we go. Okay, now let me get you bigger.
So yeah, there it is, right there.
Dry Gulch. Yes, really. If I could find that locomotive for cheaper, a locomotive that was 3-rail that said Dry Gulch, I would be scraping that dry part off and making it say big.
Yeah.
And running it on this layout. I would run it on this layout in a heartbeat because I am in the middle of custom building the Black Mamba. The Black Mamba is being built slowly.
Well, see, I've got an undecorated hopper car that's behind me in the box, and what I was thinking about doing was making a big gulch freight car to pull behind this one.
Oh,
so
that would be cool.
So you would have your Dry Gulch and Western, but the freight car would have Big Gulch and Eastern.
Ah, okay. Because see, if I bought that, because I could run it on my little 2-rail track on the floor that I tend to run my UK stock on, but I would just it's easy to buy or make the decals. I've still got a Tester's decal. I would just scrape the DRY off and put BIG right there.
Yeah.
But not you, obviously not you, but I would.
Yeah, you could. Well, see, this engine, from what I was told, there was actually 3 of them there at the show that was for sale. I wound up buying this one. The other 2.
Can I ask how much you paid for that one?
I got this one with a hopper car for just a little over for about $23.
Okay, see, I would have popped that. I would have popped $20 for that locomotive. All right, I'm going to bring up DC Peyton is in the basement. So there he is. Hello, Peyton. How are you?
Pretty good.
Hey, Peyton. But just to kind of finish what I was saying, there was actually 3 of these engines. However, the other 2 was in a completely different scheme than this one was in.
Oh, okay.
The other 2 was blue and red, I think, and then this one here's the black and green one.
Okay.
But supposedly a gentleman in Kansas City, Missouri, actually owned the whole collection, and if I remember correctly, his family donated the trains to the club for them to sell and to help pay for renovations on their layout. So that's actually where this stuff came from.
Oh, well, that's nice.
So,
that's nice. I mean, it's always sad if somebody has to sell
yeah,
something, but they're choosing to sell it because they don't need it. That's cool. Hi, John Benicki. How are you?
But it's a really cool piece. So.
Okay, I'll go over here. If I had seen that at any train show and it was like $20 or $25, I would have bought it. I would have just bought it because I was going to take it home, something that said Gulch on it. And yes, a big Gulch, even if the locomotive itself is not the era of Matt Clark. Because like I said, I bought a, I forget which company. It might be AMF, but it's a snap together version of the 4014 Big Boy. I am adding custom pieces to make it look like the Black Mamba from season 1. I'd like to make the Lexington Steel too, but I think I'll just do the Black Mamba for now.
Yeah.
All right. Good night, Andy. Thanks for popping in and saying hello. Take care of yourself.
But I thought about when I was talking about this during the stream during my stream earlier, I was thinking about doing a car that was already. I have one that's already painted and has the data markings on it, but doesn't have any lettering. And then I thought, well, you would be limited to just the color of that car, and it'd be this dull gray colored car.
Good early morning, little history, Terry.
Hey, little history. But it would just be this gray looking car. Wouldn't be nearly as flashy as that locomotive sitting over there in terms of the paint scheme. So I figured just do a complete undecorated car, and then you'd have unlimited range what you could do.
Exactly. Yeah. That's true. Very true. But of course, when you're doing, like I said, when you're doing the Black Mamba, the whole joke of the Black Mamba is that it looked like something.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
So it still has to be custom built and then lettered, but I've got that covered. I just gotta. I only work a little bit on this because I'm building various buildings, and I've been collecting, finding HO figures and go, oh, there's the sheriff. Oh, that one's going to be Matt Clark. Oh, I found one from a Prizer kit that it's exactly Diesel Dan. It's like perfect. Boom. So I'll have all the main characters on this, and it's going to be, I think it's 2 foot. I'm planning on 2 foot by 4 foot, and it's going to go on the wall over here. It'll just be
nice.
It's going to be a display diorama, but I've got buildings to do. We've got the Itchy Crotch Club. We've got the Filthy Glass Saloon. Actually, that's a 3D print I have to print up. And then we've got the Squeaky Spring Hotel. We've got the station, and then some other buildings. I'm still trying to find something that would work as the jail. But so it'll just be a very simplistic layout, and I've already got most of the scenery I want to throw on it. It's just get the buildings and that in first, and then the characters. But I even found a Daisy Cocket, so I'm happy with that.
Oh yeah. No, I just thought that'd be kind of a better way to go, just to use a completely undecorated car, and then I can put whatever paint and lettering I want on it.
Absolutely.
So
you've talked about, have you officially been cleared to go home, or are they?
Not yet. We're kind of in the discussions of that. I told my supervisor down there that I was going to wait till the end of the weekend, see what transpires. But right now it's looking like I'm going to be calling him tomorrow and getting everything set up to come back to there.
Okay. For
So
those who don't know, Randall works with the rail companies here in the
USA.
Yeah,
Rail Crew Express. It's basically a crew service it's a if you want to call it a limousine service for railroad crews. But basically, we drive vans and haul railroad crews to their trains or wherever they got to go. So.
And you are running an F7 Santa Fe.
That is correct. That's actually the model.
I know F7s because the only model train I had as a kid was a Tyco F7 Santa Fe Super Chief. And
I hadn't run this engine quite a while because I found out that this sucker has slots in the bottom of each truck where you oil it, and when it runs, it likes to throw all the lubricants onto the rails. So I don't run this engine very much.
Gotcha.
So, and that's that. There's nothing wrong with the engine. That's just the way Model Power made it. But it's a good running set, good running engine. So.
Indeed. Sorry, I'm just moving a locomotive around.
So yeah, probably by the time you guys stream next week, I'll be back on my should be back on my home layout. Well, it's not a given, but if everything seems to be pointing that way,
So, what are you? Obviously, Peyton, you are putting in some fill for your hoppers there, some coal.
Yeah, and I'm gluing in with some Elmer's glue.
Okay. Have you watered that down at all?
No.
Okay. Because I just got my first set of actual hoppers. They're self-dumping cars, as they're called, self-unloading. I don't know what Americans call them, but I just translate the German. And I haven't decided what I'm going to put in them yet, if I'm going to put anything in. Right now, they're running empty. But I am, when it comes to my model trains, I don't weather them, which I just, for the money I spend on my trains, I'm not making them dirty. And of course, some people, it's got to be weathered, other people. So in my little HO world, graffiti artists are have died off. They don't exist. That could be a poll we could put out there, folks. Those of you tuned in, is weathering a must? You don't care or won't do it? What do you guys think? Is weathering a must?
I don't normally do. I don't do any weathering. I do have some. I do have some of those tank cars I picked up from Scale Trains when they was having a big sale on them, and I might try weathering on them.
Exactly, John. It's your world. You get to do what you want.
Yep.
Well, like I said, see, I don't weather and I won't weather, but when somebody else does it, I think it looks cool. But I can look at something and say it looks cool without saying I got to do that too.
I see, like this set here, I would never weather it.
Yeah.
Because model power doesn't exist anymore. At least I don't think so.
Okay.
And these trains aren't made anymore. So probably for the historical purposes, this train will stay pretty much as it is. So
let's see. Are you still ready to go? But yeah, I just as you're about the middle of your live stream, a video I made early this morning went up on my channel where I was highlighting that other set of experimental liveries. You won't weather yours, but would buy weathered. See, I like that. He won't do it, but if somebody else did it and it's something he wants, buy it. Yeah. And I would probably do that too if I got a whole rake of like, hey, Dodge, I've got these 7 ore cars that are Era 6 Germany, and you've got your freight locomotives, and these are German or Austrian, and they would work. They're weathered. I wouldn't care at that point, but I'm not going to do it, but I would run something that is weathered. But I don't want to offend people like they make it like that. I don't like graffiti. I don't like graffiti in the real world. I don't like graffiti in the real world. No matter how well done it is, when I look at it, it's like you destroyed something by putting your mark on it. If you're that good, get a canvas, get a sheet of paper, and put it on that. I'm old fashioned that way. Now, Peyton, do you have a rail line you try to run?
Not really, just this one.
I mean, like, are you a Union Pacific guy, CSX, or don't care?
CSX, big fan of CSX.
Gotcha, CSX. Okay, because CSX runs. I'm in Toledo, Ohio, so CSX runs through Toledo.
See, I'm different. I don't really have one particular railroad that I really go, lean towards. Of course, course, I am heavy. My fleet's heavy to the side of BNSF because
Right.
that's what I see all the time. So, but I have some NS. I have some Conrail, and I started dabbling into the fallen flag, the BNSF, like Burlington Northern, Frisco, and of course, people watch my channel quite often know the story. I have family ties to the Frisco, so I had a great uncle that was an engineer for him.
All right. Jake from Haunted Halloween Railway asked me, would I get my British stock weathered? That's a great question because I don't run any British freight. I only have 4 British trains. I've got 4 Hornby 00 scale things. And that is because one was a Beetle. Well, actually, 2 of them are Beatles trains. But the very first 00 thing I bought was I saw it in a shop. And I'm a huge Beatles geek. And it was a Beatles 00 Eurostar, which is a big, fancy passenger train that goes from the United Kingdom to France and back. It uses the Euro tunnel, and it's called the Eurostar. It was a Beatles design, so I had to have it. And even though it was 2 rail, it came with track, so I just would set the track on the floor and run it. But it was a Beatles train, I had to have it. Then when I went to the UK, I bought a Mallard because I've always loved the Mallard. Since I've been into trains and saw the Mallard. I had heard of the Mallard even before that because it set a speed record. I'll get to you in just a second, Jean Ricard, while you're hanging in the basement. But the Mallard was special, so I bought one in the UK, and I just ran it on track. Then Joyce, as a surprise Christmas present, bought me an Azuma, which is a Class 800, I believe, high-speed British train, which is beautiful. It's a gorgeous train. It's probably my favorite UK train I have. And then another Beatles train came out, which is called the Singles from Liverpool, which is about the cheapest and chintziest of my trains. It's a Class 73 locomotive, and it came with 2 cars, but I did get 2 additional cars that has all the Beatles singles that were released in the UK while they were the Beatles on the side. And it's totally aimed at getting suckers like me that are Beatle fans that will buy stuff that says Beatles on it. And so freight, I would weather, but since I run passenger cars, I tend to like my passenger cars pristine. So my Azuma, no way that gets weathered. That thing's going to stay nice and crispy clean, snowy clean. I've got some LMS maroon cars. Actually, they're British Rails maroon with my 00. Those will not be weathered. And then I've got some really cheap Hornby Greshly teak coaches. And yeah, I won't weather those. Although I'd like a nicer set of teak coaches. These are the cheapest, most basic, but they're what I could find and get for cheap because I don't want to spend a lot of money in 00 because my money goes to HO, German, and Central European. Hello, Delmarva. And hello, Jean Ricard.
Hello, Anthony, and hello to everybody else, Randall. And I kind of lost the name of the 4th guy.
It's Peyton.
Peyton. Hello, Peyton. What brought me in was that you mentioned
Can you turn up your volume just a little?
I'll try.
There you go. That was good. Now, Jean, let me introduce you to some people who may not know you yet. This is my okay, I committed a lot of sin early in my life, and God is punishing me by giving me this Dane as my friend. This is Jean Ricard, who also runs Miracle Trains. He is from Denmark. Now, mind you, ladies and gentlemen, he speaks wonderful English, but he is Danish. It's a second language.
Yeah. What really brought me into this was that you mentioned the one thing was weathering and the other thing was graffiti. And you mentioned it in the same sentence.
Yes.
But I think we have to make a difference because
No, we don't.
We don't.
No.
I think
It's something that you apply to a train that's not there naturally. They're the same thing. Just one
Yeah,
is more nature made, one is human made.
yeah, I got it, Anthony. But what I think is that some people are liking to weathering trains, to show, like, if you look at a bogie, for example, on a car, and it's pristine, it can look a bit plastic, and they want to make it like, that you have the brake system on and so on, whereas graffiti is clearly something that somebody adds to make, their mark on things. And weathering is like, basically, you wouldn't put your layout in water, but in real life it rains on things, and you get this strikes on as a natural occurring thing, where graffiti is the basic destruction of things, as I see it. So I think somehow we should distinguish between the two things.
I think sometimes we can be a bit nitpicky about distinguishing. I think we all understand what graffiti and weathering are, and whether we want it on either on our trains or not, or
Yeah.
whether we care or not.
Yeah, but
see, you woke up, Jean. You woke up just to come on here, just once again to go.
Yeah, of course. That's the purpose of my life, is to eat on your streams,
Indeed.
Yeah.
That's why I've got you where you are, Sean. That's why I've got you where you are, right below me, because you're a hemorrhoid.
I'm getting a headache by all the pointing down to me, but
yeah, I wish you were giving me a headache, but it's a little bit lower.
Okay. Well, you can get headaches in many forms,
Indeed.
Yeah.
But anyhow, let me answer this. Delmarva Artie, with his travels, is sometimes finding it hard to get. Like last week, he was still traveling and wasn't able to do a show. This week, he's with family. Artie does have family here in the United States, and he's visiting with them. And he got to see a lot of his family the last couple of days. I think he's in South Carolina. I could be wrong, but I thought his family was in South Carolina. But he, while he was there, a distant relative of his, a great aunt that he doesn't really know well, had a fall, fell down, hurt themselves pretty bad, but while going to the hospital, had a heart attack and is basically in not very good shape. So the family's having a vigil, and Artie's just hanging with the family. So Artie originally was hoping he would be here tonight, but didn't know if he could be. But now circumstances have made it that he can't be here. So just everybody, Artie, asking whether Artie's having trouble is like asking if the desert is hot. Artie's always having trouble somehow. Sometimes it's fun trouble. Sometimes it's not fun trouble.
Well, we wish him all the best.
He is up in Boston. This is the family in Boston. Okay. So he was up in Boston, because I thought he said he had gone back down. But thank you, Dave. He's in Boston. And then Artie from Boston will be going to Cleveland, or just outside Cleveland, where he's with Dave, and then he's coming to stay with me. He'll be here next Friday. So Artie is hoping he will be on my live stream Friday, and then he will be doing his live stream from here at the Model Train Outsider Hub on Saturday.
Let's just hope it survives it.
Let's just hope I survive, right? I will be locking up my Railjet.
Okay.
Yeah, you better put that thing in a safe, Anthony.
Because being stuck between Jean Ricard and Artie, no man should have to go through that. Fortunately, I'm a big enough man; I can handle it.
Well, maybe I should get a plane and get over there, and you will really be in between your.
Well, if you can get here before Friday, because otherwise Artie's got your bed and you're sleeping on the floor. We do have a spare mattress. We just don't have a spare bed.
Yeah,
Artie, or if you get here, then Artie's sleeping on the spare mattress. We have one spare bed, 2 spare mattresses.
I'll actually say I won't be able to make it, unfortunately. Yeah.
Darn.
So,
Joyce will be heartbroken.
Yeah.
It's a week to go. And Joyce is already frantically, I've got to clean this, and this has got to be scrubbed, and this has to be changed, and we need to build this on the house, and we need to. Yeah. Joyce is already in frantic mode. Hey, Dave BNSF, how are you? Let me repost that link one more time, and we still got room if somebody wants to pop up on screen and chat away here. But so yeah, Artie is
Hey, Dave, BNSFN scale.
And the problem is Artie's usually pretty open. I never know how much to give away of what's going on, but I thought people should know what was going on there, that women tend to do that. Joyce, though, if you take all the stereotypes of women, Joyce tends to be many of the opposites of those. She's not a shopper. She's not, she's the banker. She's the curmudgeon of the family. I'm the shopper. I'm the one who goes out and spends money. She's a good cook, and at certain times she doesn't mind cook, but she's not always wanting to cook and always bake and stuff like that. She's not. But yeah, the one thing she is uptight about is when people are coming over, she wants to convince people that we never make a mess.
Yeah, that's nice. That's.
Yeah, see, I'm the exact opposite, Anthony. I'm not a housekeeper.
Right,
as my dad used to say, I'm not a housekeeper. I just live there.
Steve, where are you at that you're getting ready for breakfast, or do you just like to plan 8 hours in advance? He's like at Bob Evans at midnight going, at 6 o'clock, I want my eggs and sausage right here. I suppose it's a good thing. I mean, obviously it's a good thing. We've been married for 37 years. 36 years, almost. It'll be 37 this year. And been together over 40. She knew me when I had hair. Okay, you are in Hyderabad, India. Hyderabad, isn't that? Would you know? Is that near the Hydaspes, the famous Alexander the Great, his last great battle, the Battle of the Hydaspes River? I thought Hyderabad was near there, but I'm trying to remember. Well, it can be a long time. It seems like yesterday, but we're a tag team. Joyce and I are joined at the hip most of the time, which is why she always comes on my live feeds. But anyhow, have a good breakfast there in India. And then the following 3 hours in the bathroom.
Oh, don't be so rude. Even Indians can make food that.
I didn't say it was bad food.
No, but 3 hours in the bathroom afterwards, you somehow indicated something,
Oh, you're going to go to a Bollywood studio. Joyce would go with you. Joyce got into Bollywood during a flight to Germany a few years ago. I think it was the 2017 trip or the 2019 trip. I forget which one, but she started watching Bollywood, and now every time we're on a flight overseas, even to the UK, she's looking to see if there's a good Bollywood movie on. Oh, you avoid the Indian food. Well, if you're in India, it's all India food. It's not like it's being parachuted in from somewhere else. I need Burger King. All right, we're flying it in from San Francisco. It'll be there in 22 hours.
It's not to be rude, but I think I'll leave the stream again. I'm kind of running
It's
late here in
yes.
Denmark.
It is almost 3 in the morning where you are, Jean Ricard.
Yeah, it is. So thank you for the nice streaming here as well, and have a nice night.
All right, we'll talk to you later. Or
See you, John.
Jean Ricard always calls me. I know that within 2 minutes of Jean Ricard, Jean Ricard always calls me within 5 minutes of me putting up a video.
Yeah.
When I put up a video, I get a call from Jean Ricard. Anthony, I just saw your video. And I must correct you on one thing.
Yeah.
No, actually, like today he called to say he really liked the video and I did nothing wrong in it.
Well,
Eggs,
hopefully
cheese,
by this
bread.
time next week, I'll have a couple of reviews on some locomotives.
Yeah. Now,
Fingers crossed.
Speaking of which, your video the other day, your tour through the, what was it? The OMRA?
It's the Ozark Model Railroads Association.
Yeah, the OMRA.
So,
Number one, let's get that part out. It's a beautiful
I
layout
appreciate it.
and location. Wow.
Yeah, it is. They did a great job on that layout.
Yeah, that's
it's
amazing. And Randall, you should be able to post a link to it. You might be able to get to it.
I would. When I do, it's going to freeze a picture up, Anthony.
Oh, all
if
right.
I do
I
it,
will try to find it real fast then.
Okay.
Your tour of it, your narration, you talking through it,
well,
and explain things. That, I mean, I hope this doesn't come out the wrong way, but that was one of the best videos you ever posted. That was.
I appreciate that. I don't claim to be a narrator. I don't claim to be a narrator, and I try to keep it at a minimum because
Joyce and I loved it. That was such a great video.
And Anthony, the video does not do that place justice.
They never do.
It absolutely does not do that place justice. You literally have to see that place in person.
And you made me want to.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So
let me find your page here so I can.
Yeah, it's a long video. I don't normally like putting videos out that's like an hour long, but there's just so much to see on that layout, and the photos that line the wall too. I bet I didn't even show half of them that's on the wall. There,
Yeah,
I tried to show as much as I could. Yeah. The one photo that I really liked that they had hanging there was the one of 1522 in 1994. That was the year I saw that engine.
So I'm just going to link the video, and then hopefully people could hop over and even join your channel as well. It is an hour-long video. I will tell everybody that it's an hour-long video, but it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I could have just done my whole show tonight.
And I may do later on, because I've still got the video minus the narration, the individual clips. I may like chop some of the clips up and put them out as shorts where people don't have to sit there and digest the whole hour video if they don't want to. So, but they want to see a certain clip.
Yeah, and again, you can scan through and that looks interesting. Stop, and let's see. Did I see Robin Taylor is here? Hello, Robin. And let me real quick put this link in one more time. That people.
The cool part was Anthony though.
Robin's here.
Hey, Robin. The cool part, though, Anthony, was I wasn't expecting that to become like a mini YouTube meet and greet, but there was like, excuse me, three other YouTubers there, and some of them are relatively well known. One is Mike Landis at the main track, and the other was Jonah Hemingway, who is White River Rails, who actually does a lot of videos in and around the Springfield area on their stuff. So.
Don't worry, Randall. I subscribe to him.
Yeah, but
But you're absolutely right, Randall, that you can do amazing videos. And again, just to repeat myself ad nauseum, you did a beautiful job.
Well, I appreciate it.
I mean,
You did, Randall.
beautiful. But anybody who takes pictures or videos at any kind of a museum, but for our sake, any sort of model railway exhibit, the pictures never do it justice.
Yeah.
If you remember, this past June, I was in Germany and I hit 4 major. Well, hello, Robin.
Hey, Robin.
Hi, guys.
I hit 4 major, including 2 of the biggest model train layouts in Europe. Miniature Wonderland, the biggest model train layout in the world. Yes, it's bigger than Northlands, much. And then I did the Märklin, called the Märklinaeum, down at Göppingen in the big factory where Märklin makes some of their trains. Some of the trains are made in Germany at Göppingen, and then some are made in Hungary. Actually, it's about, and then some of their trick stuff and a little bit of their Märklin stuff is actually now made in China, but most of their stuff is either Hungary or Germany. But anyhow, I went to that. Then I went to Porsche's Traumwerk. Traumwerk means dream work. Porsche, as in the Porsche Automotive. Big, massive, super high-tech model train layout. And then Joyce and I went to this little place in TDZ called, and yes, giggle at the name. We went to this place called Märklin World. And I filmed it in 4K. And when I watch it on my 4K TV, it looks great, but it still doesn't look as great as actually being there. There's just whatever it is, the 3 dimensions squished down to 2, they don't come out. I even did a live stream from from Miniature Wonderland. So anyhow, yeah, no matter what you do, they just don't ever look as good in video as they do there, but you can still make them look really good.
Well, I mean, for what they have in the space that they have, that it's not a terribly large space that they have that layout in, but there's so much to see in it. And they're actually, and I mentioned this in the video, the reason why they had the open house and the sidewalk sale and some of the future events they got plans to help raise money to renovate the layout. So they're going to put in all new track wiring. I think they said they're going to reuse the DCC system. It's the one part they are going to reuse, but they're redoing the track work. They're redoing, like I said, switches and everything. And they're going to change the era it's going to be set in. So I think, and if I remember this correctly, it's set in between the 1940s and the 1950s. In Missouri. When they get this renovation done, it's going to the time frame is going to jump to the 1960s and 1970s when they get everything finished eventually. So
you're still stuck in the motel, Randall?
I'm still in the hotel.
Oh my goodness me.
That may be fixing to change here by sometime middle of next week, because I am not getting any trips up here. I've been out once in 2 weeks.
Oh, goodness me.
So.
Yeah, it's not much work, is it?
Yeah, well, some of it is they're hiring new people, and the local drivers get first crack at the trips. So when they come back on the board, we always get kicked behind them. So it's becoming an endless cycle where we're never going out. So
it makes you wonder why they're happy to pay for you to be there and they're not giving you any work.
Well, I mean, the first couple of weeks was actually pretty good. I mean, but then after that, it just kind of died. And it doesn't help that, BNSF, for lack of a better term, likes to play fast and loose in a lot of situations. And they either run everything at once or they run nothing at all. So,
Okay. Is it still cold over there?
it is not. It was in the mid 60s yesterday.
Oh wow. Gee.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
I mean, I stepped outside yesterday and it was downright warm.
Yeah, we've had
So-
heat waves here, 27 degrees Celsius overnight.
Now, what would that be like Fahrenheit? Because I'm not
I'm
not good at converting
What's
Celsius to
how much,
Fahrenheit.
Robin?
27 degrees Celsius overnight.
That's about 81, 82 degrees.
Okay.
Yeah, overnight. And then during the day around about 37 to 39 Celsius.
Yeah, no,
But-
that's the scene of the BNSF engine. Now they had a free run going on while I was there. For the
I
open
remember
house,
that
so.
part of the video. You said it derailed.
Yeah, they was having some issues with that one coal car there. So yeah,
I'm
that's,
trying to find where you
Yeah, I-
showed the mountain section just behind him.
yeah.
It was really impressive.
That was, and I would have to go back
I'm
and watch
just
that
looking
video
forward.
again.
Like some of this here, this was just fantastic.
Yeah,
And again,
that
we're watching
right
the
there is just
720.
insane.
We're watching this gets reduced scale for StreamYard. It's in 720, but if you get it in 1080 or upscaled TV, if you go and watch the actual video, this is a great layout, and Randall really does a great job of taking you through it and without over talking it. And
Well, see,
again,
like I
Randall
said, I didn't
this is a
want to narrow.
layout in construction.
Yeah, I just wanted to point out kind of the major stuff because I didn't want to start narrating and running over my words because I really stink at narrating. So I wanted to just keep it to a minimum. So
I couldn't believe when that camera car
Yeah,
ran on its own. It was crazy.
yeah, I wish I had got a better shot of that. I wasn't paying attention. I had my phone dropped down on the fascia on the layout, and I wish I'd have caught that because that was nuts. I mean, when that thing come off and it took off on its own, my jaw about hit the floor. I had no idea
my
that thing was
God.
running on its own.
I'm going to skip back just a little bit. The rail bridge over the river.
Yeah, that I love that scene.
That's a good view, isn't it?
Yeah, out of all the scenes, that's probably my favorite of the whole video right there.
Well, I've subscribed to your channel, Randall. So
I
can
appreciate
have
it, Robin.
this Late,
But yeah,
later on,
But yeah, that scene, especially right there with the barge and the crane, that's probably my favorite part of the layout right there, where the tracks go over the bridge. There's a lot to like about that layout, but that has to be probably one of my favorites. And I wanted to zoom in on that because I figured Artie would get a kick out of that.
What's happened to
With the
them?
figures upside down. I almost thought about making a joke in the video. I was
Apparently,
like,
instead
nah.
of diving out of the boat into the water, they dove out of the water
Yeah.
into the boat.
I thought about
They both
saying
hit their
something
heads.
stupid for that part, Anthony, but I thought, nah, just let the picture tell the story.
Yeah, John, we got to 51-52 the other day. I think it was Thursday, and then it went cold again. But we're supposed to get really nice weather just in time for Artie to get here.
I'm interested to see what this layout's going to look like when they do eventually get it finished, because it's going to jump about
Right.
20 years into the future.
Yeah, I've
as
seen
far
it
as the
when it's
time frame
finished.
set in. So I'm really interested to see this when it's done. And of
Well, I
course,
thought-
you got the classic Frisco power
Yeah, I like those.
SD45 in the
livery.
lead.
I'm gonna drop it back down now.
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
I just wanted to really
Yeah, it's a
share that.
cool.
It was a
Yeah.
it's a great video. It's an hour tour, but it's it's one of those things. If you don't have an hour to sit and watch a few
Yeah.
minutes of it, come back.
Oh yeah,
to it
yeah, yeah.
another time.
Hey, Randall.
Yo,
Jack has one of those Frisco engines.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which one does he have? Because I've got. Are they the scale trains ones?
It's like a GP9 head.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so you're near Wausau. Okay.
I think he has it on layout right now.
Yeah. I figured he would have had the SD38s like I got.
No, I don't think it's a different head.
Okay.
I've never seen before.
Well, the only other, well, I better watch what I say, but the other Frisco engines that I know is out there, Ather made a GP7 because I've seen it on some of the model train websites. That's a cool engine. That would be one of things pick back up and I start making what I used to make. That would definitely be on my hit list in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So
It was like
Wow.
it was that middle engine in that video where he was showing. It's like that middle engine.
oh, you mean it's a
I'm
B30-7?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is.
That was the middle engine on that train, yeah. Huh. See, I've got a U30B.
Yeah.
So that's a Frisco engine. That's an Atlas engine. I need to do a retro review on that one. That's a fun little engine to run. That thing runs great. People like to dunk on Atlas, but man, they make some good running engines.
Yeah, they do.
I don't know. I know the name, don't know anything about it. So anyhow,
Well-
Robin, how are you? I wanted to ask Robin how she's doing. I haven't seen her in a while.
I have been so busy. Yeah, I've made about 40 odd wagons for people, and yeah, it's just been crazy.
Wow.
I didn't expect it. I did some for a guy, and he put them onto one of the Facebook pages. And next thing you know, everyone wanted to order them. So it's been pretty hectic.
HO00, what scale were the wagons?
Oh, N scale.
N
Yeah,
scale. Oh, that's right. You do.
yeah.
I know you do a lot of N scale. For those who don't know Robin here, Robin,
Hey, Kyle Stevens
could we use the word custom makes, but you make for
and John
order
Manicki.
all your
Yeah.
own stuff, buildings,
Yeah,
trains, everything, and she's a master at it. There aren't many on the planet Earth better.
That's crazy, but yeah. I enjoy what I do, and I like to do things as
well.
good as I
Anybody,
can.
I don't know if you have a link to show some of the work you've done, because you do incredible work.
Oh, thank you.
And
there's a Facebook page that I've set up, which is just called Robin's Handcrafted Models.
okay.
And you can have a look on there. It's got lots of different things, because I not only do trains, I do lots of buildings, and
Mm-hmm.
and I've done restorations on model ships and all sorts of things for people. So yeah, I just love model making. It's just fun, and most of what I do is handcrafted. So I like using those skills. I use a bit of 3D printing now, but I still prefer to do stuff by hand, and it works out quicker for me. Some people take 2 or 3 days to draw something up, and I've already got the model and made castings of it and in a day.
Some people have that ability. I mean, I was the same thing when I was at university. We'd be given 12-page research papers we'd have to write, and I could do mine in a day and a half, and most people were taking weeks.
Struggling with it,
Yeah, that's me.
And it's not like one thing is better than the other. It's just some people can do things quickly well. Other people do things very well at a slower pace. Some people do crap very quickly, and some people do crap at a slow pace. It's just some people just seem to be able to do it quick.
Yeah, I think the more you do, the more you get that mindset. So, I mean, I have struggled with it especially with the trains initially, but now I don't even think about it. If I get a model I want to make, I just do it. And I have to be a bit fussy, but it's funny listening to you guys the other day when you were talking about people who are rivet counters, and I'm one of them. But I don't force that on other people, and I try to show people how to do things so that they can have a go at it. Everyone's got their own level of doing things, so it's good.
But the passion and the desire can play into it as well. It's like there are people that are very, they build wonderful layouts and they do great ballasting, but they hate the ballasting, and worse, because they hate it, they'll go slow because they have to talk themselves into doing it. I'm doing that right now with my Fowler car system, Mach 3, version 3, whatever you want to call it. I am working very slow on it because it still just drives me up a wall that it's been sitting for 2 years since I screwed it up, and trying to figure out a way to run it again. But I'm almost ready to wire everything up. I'm hoping with Artie coming next weekend, I don't know if I'll have it done then, but hopefully within 2 weeks I'll have it fully wired up and ready to show off. That's a hope.
That'll be really good, eh? It's, I watched part of your talk the other day about it. Yeah.
Well, I wanted to prove to people I did actually have it running at one time, and running very cool. And then I decided to upgrade it and make it fancier. And that's when it all went to Tasmania. No, I'm sorry. Went to
it fell down the toilet.
Something like that. Yes.
Yes. It is fun, though. I mean, one of the things that I like about model making is the challenge. It's, you know, somebody says, "Oh, could you do whatever?" And I think I'll have a go at it. And I think that's when I've been doing workshops with people, saying that the one thing you have to do with any hobby or anything is to get over the fear factor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not have that fear of having a go, or if you do fail, you know, being prepared to throw everything in the bin and start again, not giving up. And most people can't do that, which is a bit of a shame, really.
I have that, you know, the fear factor is definitely there because I have failed redoing it about 3 or 4 times now. But the thing is, I do like a challenge, but I've also, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's because I've taken so many challenges, you know, at least in my world. I mean, there are some challenges I've never had to face. For Robin, I hope you'll forgive me for bringing this out, but I've never had to be a woman in a male-dominated hobby. That's a challenge.
Like when I did sign writing, when I first started out, my boss at the place where I was working offered me an apprenticeship, and I just said, "Boy, yeah, that sounds cool," because I loved lettering and I loved seeing people doing it and all that. And the guy was ahead of his time, and I think I might have been probably the first female in our state to actually do a sign writing trade back in the 70s. Cool. So it was okay at work where I was working, but we used to have to do a 7-week block at what they call a TAFE college, which is a technical and further education college. And that 7-week block was a nightmare because I was the only girl there, and yeah, I was treated awful. But, you know, I grew up with 4 brothers. So
so you were ready for it.
Yeah, sort of.
See, I'm the opposite. I had 3 older sisters, so.
Oh, okay.
We're in hand-me-down clothes sucked, but other than that, no. But no, my 3 sisters were all scrappers too, and so you had to fight to survive. But you know, I've been in several hobbies that tend to be male-dominated, and of course, my wife Joyce was an athlete, and she gets very irate to this day if, when she's talking sports, somebody tries to mansplain something to her, like, "You're a woman, what do you know?" She's like,
"Yeah,
you know, I was an all-city basketball player. What did you do? You know, I was this."
Yeah.
You know, she gets that. But you know, I've been in the hobbies. Like I was comic collector for a while, toy collector, and comics. You know, women in comics, women who are into comics, comic books. You know, and the superheroes, the Avengers, the Batman. They get. And it's weird because most guys that technically are into comics are always dreaming that they'd find a girl who would be into comics and share the passion with them. But when a woman actually comes into that hobby, they're most often treated like crap. Like, you know, you're a woman, get out of here.
Yeah, I think it's the condescending things that happen. I mean, there was times when we were exhibiting my layout and people would come over and say, "Oh, I just wanted to have a chat with the guy who built the layout." And I said, "Well, you're looking at her, you know, like, really?" "Oh, who did all the woodwork?" "Well, I did." "Who did the track laying?" "Well, yeah, I got to accept that. My track laying back then was pretty awful." But yeah, the scenery and everything and all the models I made, so it was a bit hard for people to handle it. And then if I showed people what I was doing, you got the comments of, "Oh, that's what you do, isn't it? You've got to prove a point." Well, it's not about proving a point. For me, like I used to say to them, I don't have to prove a point. I do it because I can. I'm not trying to show anybody up or anything like that.
Right.
To get over that intimidation.
You're trying to do the best you can do.
I will never do anything less than the best. And that's an attitude that I got from my boss when I did my trade. He was always a stickler for doing everything to the best of your ability. And I remember one word, because I was doing a sign one time and I really wasn't into it. And he stood behind me and he just looked at it and he said to me, it takes as much time to do a job properly as it does to do it badly. And then he walked away and I looked at what I'd done and I just thought, oh no. So I had to wash it all off the panel and start again. But that being that particular and trying to do things right is good in some ways. Sometimes it can be a bit of a burden because you do something, you're like, I'll make a pattern, and if it's not 100%, it goes in the bin.
Right.
So, start again.
All right. Good night, Jake. Thanks for hanging with us. It's late over there in the UK. Take care.
See you, Haunted Halloween.
It is 2 a.m. over there in the UK, 2:16 specifically. But, yeah, and I, depending on what I do, like with my job, I had to do everything to the best of my ability. Most things I do to the best of my ability. And the problem is because of certain things that are happening in my health, it's not as easy to do things. And sometimes it's almost impossible to do it to the best my abilities used to be. I could go over here and grab some of my tabletop wargaming stuff and say, here's where these are guys I painted when I first got into the hobby. Here's how I progressed. And here's some of the last guys I painted before the handshakes got so bad I couldn't paint little figures anymore. You could just watch the skill level go do, 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 do. Bell curve right around. But like with the train hobby, I'm not even worried about it being the best. I want to work on it when it makes me happy. If I try to force myself to do it, and that's the nice thing, I don't have to do this. I could stop now and be happy running my trains with a layout not finished. But I want to finish it, but I'm going to finish it as I have my pace. Well, hi there, Matey Pooh.
Hey, Joyce.
I think you have to have a passion for it, and that helps with the motivation. Sometimes if I'm doing something and it's not working out the way I want, I should get up and go and do something else for a while and then come back to it. And usually then it works, but because I'm nearly 70 now and it's been a bit difficult, especially after losing Billy, because he was the primary reason for me getting into this hobby,
Right.
It's been a bit of a struggle over the last 12 months to even think, well, is it worthwhile keeping this going? Trains are not really my thing. But on the other hand, it's the model making that I love,
Right.
So I'm thinking about doing another exhibition layout. But, we'll see.
Cool.
Yeah.
And let's see, what is Peyton is setting
pushing a PNSF thing along.
See, I want to know that. I just know it was BNSF.
What's that?
You could have made up a number, and I said, "Oh, cool. Oh, yeah, that's a GR622Q."
Oh, there's
and there's an A4.
Yeah.
An A4. That's a UK A4.
That's a Thomas engine because I can see his face, but I forgot which one it is.
Thomas engine,
I think that's Spencer, but I'm not sure.
Yep.
I didn't see the face.
And I only know that because I was at Iron Plant Hobbies and they had the exact same engine there.
And every American's going, how does this American not know an American locomotive, but he knows a British locomotive? Probably half the channels I'm subscribed to are UK and Australian, and
I have to.
At least a third are German, and then maybe 10.
I like learning about all these UK trains and everything, and I often call I often call Anthony and John my professors when it comes to European trains, because I know absolutely nothing about them. So they're my teachers. So
I have to try to find my Adi voice. Adi Fadi here.
Everybody needs someone like that, don't they, to help them through it? Because I didn't understand the language with this hobby when I first got into it. And because I can make models and because I could build the layout, people would come over and chat to me like as if I knew everything. I didn't have a clue.
Welcome, Mike G. Aus America is actually not here today. Artie is in the Boston area with family. I am his co-host, Anthony, and I am just keeping his show alive so people don't forget that he has a show. Or I may be killing his show, one way or the other.
Oh no, it's been good.
See, the problem is I'm on Artie's show to be the comedic relief, and Artie's the one who's supposed to have the topics and everything else, because I do my show on Friday where I don't do anything serious either. But
it's hard to keep Artie on topic.
well, that was the whole point of the show. He might have a topic, he might not. I just I got signed on when he started doing live feeds from remote areas where he might lose feed, and I was just keeping it open. But I guess he liked the way I kept things going while he was off. That he said, "You want to be my co-host?" And I was like, "Sure."
Yeah, it's good. It works.
I mean, we were friends before that, but yeah, he drafted me in.
Yeah, I've known him since the 90s. So,
well, yeah, you've known him so much longer, and you still call him a friend, so that says something. But yeah, I mean, and that's the thing, Dave. I to be honest, even a lot of German locos from even a short distance, I'm like, is that a 187 or is that a 147 or is that a 101? I have to get around to the front where they got the numbers on it. Then I can tell you. Certain locomotives are easy for me to tell, but yeah, but I'm learning. I'm still learning. I look at certain locos, and when we're in Germany, Joyce will nudge me and go, "Hey, what's that one?" I'm like, "I have absolutely no idea." Oh, look, it's a 115. Oh, cool. I've finally seen a 115.
At the moment, they've got all these different locos and different codes for them now in Australia. It's really hard to keep up with them.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, some of them they use like a I don't know what you'd call it, like an engineering code, like an AC 46 ACE or something. But then there's all these different companies buy that loco, paint them in different liveries, and then call them a WH, a TT, whatever. It's really hard to keep up with it.
Well, that's what gets me. And Randall can, like, this is an ES44 AC, and this is something else 44. That's like, okay, they look exactly alike to me.
Yeah, well, it's a lot harder than it used to be now, Anthony, because
what makes the difference? Hang on, Randall. What makes the difference between this this ES44 or whatever and this 44? Well, Anthony, if you look at the handrail right here, the handrail is about 3 inches lower than it was on the, it's some minute detail that I would never notice, but the people that do notice it. Now, I know that's an exaggeration, Randall. Please forgive me for that. But
No, you're good. It's all good. I was just going to say it's a lot harder than it used to be, because both the ES44 AC and the ES44 DC look nearly identical, at least up until they stopped producing the DC version.
So there's an ES44 AC and an ES44 DC.
Correct.
So one's AC and one's DC. So really, you can't tell whether one's AC or DC until you see who they're partnered with.
The easiest way you used to could tell the difference in them
that was a dirty joke.
was the dynamic brake grids on the I'm trying to think which side it's on. I think it's the conductor side. But the DC has the grid spaced further apart, and then the AC has them, I think, closer together. I'd have to look at. It's been so long since I've looked at them close that I'd have to look at them again. But anyway, there's a difference in the way their dynamic brake vents are spaced. in between the two. So that's the easiest spotting feature.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
Huh?
I didn't hear what you said.
I just said zoom over the head.
Okay, then.
So sometimes they have like a coding at the end of them, which might be like, just as an example, a -8 or a -9 or whatever. But that -8 or -9 doesn't change the outward look of the loco.
Right.
That refers to the software or something that they use to run it.
Yeah. Well, in
So
Germany, you have a class 1. I'm sorry.
It's really weird, isn't it? The way they come up with these things.
Well, in Germany, you have a class 146, then you have a class 146-1, then a class 146-2, and then a class 146-5. And again, on the outside, they look identical. It's all interior changes, which is why they still call it the class 146, of course. The nice thing, at least the Germans, to a degree, there's a great, not to understand anything, but the Germans being Germans, everything is very organized. For example, anything that's a 100 is electric, 200 is diesel. So there's a 145 electric, and there's a 245 diesel. And then there's a 045, which means steam, because 0 is steam. And then any number 50 and below was passenger service, and any number 51 and above was freight service. So a class 150 was passengers, a class 151 was freight. And then the higher or lower the number, like a 151 would be 155, 157 would be heavy freight, and then the 180, the 170s, 180s were medium freight, and the 190s were light freight. It used to be that way. Now it's not quite, but it was a very strict nomenclature you could follow.
Sometimes with Victorian Railways, which is a state here, sometimes with some of their locos, their steam locos had the same coding that they've given to diesels. So sometimes when you're talking to somebody and they say, "Oh, you're talking about the S class," they ask the question, "Is that the steam or the diesel?" So you have to identify the S class diesel or the N class diesel because they have a steam engine.
Hang on, Randall. Go ahead, Robin.
So I actually messed up, Anthony. It's actually on the engineer's side where you can see the dynamic brake fans. Now this engine right here, this is an ES44 DC that ScaleTrains just recently brought out. But the dynamic brake vents that's on the side right here is spaced further apart, and there's only 2 of them. So on the AC variant, there's actually 3, and I'll have to find one that'll show it better. So yeah, this is the NS one, but you can see that's got 3 vents on the side, and that's your AC variant. Now why the AC has 3 brake vents on the side and the DC only has 2, I can't answer that, but that's probably one of the main spotting features that you can tell the difference.
Maybe because after several drivers suffocating in the 2 vent, they thought they needed one more.
Well,
just a thought.
It could be. I don't know.
Maybe we need some more air in this thing.
Yeah. And I really don't know why the AC has 3 and the DC only has 2 on that side, but unless they use extended range dynamic brakes, at which point they would probably need a little bit more. But
we call that third extra vent the Bob vent.
Yeah.
Bob used to eat Taco Bell right before he'd ride, so we had to put a third vent in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's getting loud in there. But no, what's really cool about ScaleTrains engines, though, with these dynamic brake vents, you can actually look inside and actually see the fans in them, which is a really cool detail, and I love that.
Welcome, Chris. Welcome in.
Hey, go via Chris.
Yeah,
and also
there's definitely obviously logical answers, dissipating heat and so forth, and all that. But
and also love they're doing Iowa Interstate too.
See, the problem is, here's what happens, Randall. Go ahead and hold that little chart or order form up in front. Let me make it large again. See, you show that, okay? You put that up there, and you start talking about, well, you see how this vent is here, and you see how that vent is there. You know what happens with me? I'm going, oh, wow, check out that livery. Look at that blue and black with the red stripe. That's really freaking cool. Oh, wow, look at that CSX. That one's got, oh, man, that Canadian National is really hot. I wouldn't mind having that running around my layout because Canadian National. See, I'm going through all that crap while you're going, well, there's this extra vent here because they have more heat to dissipate. And I'm just going, la, 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 look at the cool livery.
Well, really, the details really don't mean that much difference either. I just love the paint schemes on a lot of these engines.
Well, see, yeah, but you do know those subtle differences where I immediately go into window shopping, nose stuck plastered on the glass frame looking in mode. Oh, that's cool.
Well, and I go through the details and stuff like that, but at the same time, I'm not one of these guys that loses it when they do a fantasy scheme on these things.
Right, and
so
that's a whole topic right there.
Yeah, that's a whole deal for a different day. But
I don't mind fantasy. I mean, you guys.
I love fantasy
schemes. Series on experimental. These were technically fantasy schemes, even though they actually made a loco with this livery and a loco with this livery. It was merely so the Deutsche Bahn execs could walk around and say, "Oh, he likes that. Yeah, makes that." And in both cases, they rejected. They said, "No, we don't want that. Forget it. Nope." And it took them 20 years, or well, not 20 years, but about 15 more years before they finally came up with a uniform livery scheme for Deutsche Bahn. They went through various stages, but it was sort of like, okay, in this region, we'll paint them this color. In this region, they'll be this color. And they were looking for, and that's what they were doing here. They were looking for a uniform livery for Deutsche Bahn trains.
What I really like on the fantasy schemes is it tells the story of what could have been. Like, what if this railroad hadn't merged, or what if these railroads hadn't merged? What would it look like?
Right, and those type of people, you know, whether you want to call them rivet counters or not, because in this case they're livery counters. I don't know.
Yeah.
There are those people that it has to be exactly the way it is. It has to be exact. The idea that somebody else might want a fantasy, because all in their brain is good. I've been waiting for this one locomotive in this livery for 20 years to finish my 1950s West Texas layouts. And then they release a fantasy thing that nobody's going to buy. Well, somebody does buy it. That's why they release it.
Yeah, they sell. I mean,
Robin, we cut you off there. I think you were saying something.
No, you're right. We created, I created my own railway business and called it Taylor Rail. And I've done a livery on some wagons, which are Australian wagons, and I'm converting over an American loco with my new livery on it as well. And funny enough, I put it up on my Facebook page thinking I was going to cop a lot of flack. Everybody loved it. And that's the reason why, is because in Australia, probably like most places, we've got so many private owner companies that have started up now. It's just unbelievable. Every time you turn around, there's a different livery. Like we've got Swift Transport in Australia now has been painting up all the locos in Swift Transport livery. It's just really quite amazing. So it's plausible. Sometimes fantasy liveries are quite plausible because it's happening. So
yeah, I wanted to do a train and call it a Dodge train. In fact, I wanted to call it a Dodge Charger, and the company, you can't do that. And I'm like, but it's my name.
You can do anything you like.
Well, no, because Dodge is a trademark name. It's a car company here in the United States, the car company in the United States, the kings of.
But if it's your surname,
well, I don't see why they could. I don't see how they could stop you from doing your own.
No, it's just a bit upon these guys, because the whole thing is that it's my family name on the cars.
Right.
It is my family name on the cars. It's owned by Fiat. But even like with a couple of things I tried to do on Facebook, and one of the first times I tried to do my YouTube channel, Dodge did send me a cease and desist. Like, you can't use the name this way because it's trademarked, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, it's my name. Yes, but we own the trademark to the car company. Yeah, but it was my family who started the car company.
oh God.
Anyhow, to answer Chris's question, any chance you'd get the Northlander? Yes, there is I'd say a 50-50 chance I'd get it. It is expensive, and my normal model shop will not be carrying it, so I'd have to go to a secondary source, which means I won't get the big discount I would normally get on it. But I think the Northlander is a gorgeous train. It's actually a Dutch train, basically a variation of the Dutch koploper, which simply means head walker, because the front looks like a big head on it, and you could walk through it and around it originally. So the head walker, kop is head in Dutch, and lopa is to walk, which is where we get the English word lope. You know, when talking about when somebody's just kind of walking around. So koplopa.
Oh.
But yes, there's a I would say not a strong chance, but there's definitely a chance I would get it.
Hey, Randall, do they get a lot of NRE locomotives in the States?
NRE, you may have to fill me in on what that is.
Well, they're a company that manufactures locomotives, and Australia's been buying a lot of locomotives.
I've said hi.
I don't know
a lot of the places I shop at, Robin, doesn't carry that stuff. Now that doesn't mean they don't have any anywhere, but I've never seen them.
Oh, okay. I'm just having a quick look on their site. They do some stuff for Canadian Pacific.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what that one is. It looks like they do some locos for different ones, but anyway, we've got some of them coming into Australia at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, National Rail Equipment. Does that sound better to you, Randall?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I don't know whether
the name rings a bell, but I still can't really place them, Anthony. I might have seen them in like train magazines or something like that, but
okay,
that's about the extent of it.
It just might not be used in your area, you know. I've never heard of it myself, but you know, if it's trains and I've never heard of it, that's not surprising.
Yeah, we had a company in here called CFCLA, which was Chicago Freight Car Leasing.
Says they're based in Iowa,
and
located in Iowa.
Oh, there you go.
Really?
CFCLA used to buy up a lot of old rolling stock and do it up, and then lease it back to the railway companies. So.
Well, that is Iowa, and there is a time warp in concern about Iowa. Things that happen in the rest of the world take a few years before Iowa hears about them, and things that happen in Iowa take a few years before the rest of the world hear about it. It's a time warp thing. Sorry, Iowans, I'm only kidding.
Oh, here we go. It's going to start now.
Is that like a model train company, or is that like a real train company?
Real world.
They're real.
They're real. Okay.
Oh yeah. They've just brought in a shipment.
Randall, they're an imaginary train company.
I think I know what you're talking about now. Yeah, I think I have heard of it.
Okay.
I still don't think I've seen any of their equipment.
Randall, they're not a real company. They're an imaginary company. They make imaginary trains. And what they do is they take you out the tracks and say, hey, man, picture coming down the track right now. And then when you have trouble picturing it, they hand you a brownie. You eat the brownie, and then you go, yeah, I see it too.
Anthony.
All kinds of colors, man.
Be like I'll eat the brownie and the train will look like this.
What the heck?
That's very futuristic, and it's
that's
fuel of the future. That's something you'd see in like a future movie.
That's actually pretty cool looking, actually.
It is. In all honesty, it's really cool looking.
Yeah, that's actually really cool looking.
I prefer more rounded edges than the sharp, but that is clearly very 22nd century looking stuff.
It kind of gives off that Batman Beyond vibe. I like.
Indeed.
There you go. I can feel a fantasy layout coming on. The Gotham City Railway. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, Monsville didn't come in today. They could talk about their steampunk layout, and then their maybe do a future fantasy one, Space Age. Of course, I would go back to those Tyco trains in the 70s when I was a mid-teenager, and they were trying to stay relevant. So you had all of a sudden you had Space Age trains and rocket trains, and they had them in the 60s too. But really, Tyco kind of sold out and put all their hopes into this sort of pseudo Star Wars trains, and it's probably what killed Tyco. It's sort of like when Mego, the action figure company, sold out on a couple of movies. With the success of Star Wars, they started making action figures for every crap movie that came out hoping it would be the next Star Wars, and they went broke. And like many companies, they didn't just go broke. They started losing money, so they closed their factories, moved overseas, used cheaper plastics. The stuff they made was crappier, faded, the plastic faded, and that just exacerbated the downfall. But Mego made tons of toys and stuff. They were, Mego figures are one of the biggest collectible action figures in the toy collectors market. The 1970s Mego superheroes and that. A vacuum train car. Yeah, I could see that too, Chris.
When the companies go broke, usually their products become really expensive, don't they?
But you throw a black and red livery on just about anything and it looks cool, whether it's more black with a little red or a little black with a lot of red. You know, it's however you work it. NRE does rebuild locomotives.
Oh, so they're a bit like CFCLA here.
Okay.
It's hard to imagine, isn't it, really, that, you know, in Australia we're still running trains that we bought in the 50s or we manufactured in the 50s. We have such a shortage of trains at the moment. And they're running these really, really long...
Hey, Russ Rockino. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I'm not an Australian, so I wouldn't have a guess as to why. I mean, in some cases, you keep them running. I mean, the UK still probably half their diesel fleet are locomotives built 30, 40, 50, 60 years ago because they still run, you know?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I have the positive answer, again, which is Aussies just seem to be very good at cobbling and making it work, you know. But if you say there's a shortage, then there's obviously another issue involved.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why they've been importing these ones from NRE, and they also had some from China, which they've had lots of trouble with. They kept overheating, so they had to cut the sides out of them, put more vents in them, and all sorts of weird stuff. And those Chinese locos look really awful. They're just like a square box with train wheels underneath it. They just got no character to them at all.
Boy, isn't that the same? You get your model made in China at scrap, and you get the real thing made in China at scrap. Oh no, that's
the models
down the wrong rabbit hole there. You can all fire me later. But I mean, no, I've heard this from several Australian channels that these Chinese locomotives imported were really bad. Again, I have no experience.
Yeah, I'm just looking. Russ Rockin has said that NRE made the gen set, which they did. We've got two that came out here, 1200 and 1201 class, and they weren't all that successful because they were just a bit underpowered. So they still run around, but they're not that good.
And
Beautiful
really, it's not even a talk about Chinese. The problem with China is the metals and how they make their alloys. They use very low grade level alloys because that's what they have, and they're not going to import, you know, higher quality stuff from other places. They've got their own, but their metals are you know, around the world are considered lower grade metals, and so they're more likely to have issues with temperature change, with shipping and warping and distorting in the real, you know, at 1-1 level, as well as in the toy world.
We have a company up at Maryborough, which is about 300 k's from here.
Yeah.
And they've been manufacturing locomotives and things for Queensland Rail for donkey's years. And they made the original electric sets that we had for our city transport.
Yeah.
Never had any problems with them. The minute they got them, they did a couple of test runs and then put them into service. And in recent times, they decided that they wanted to upgrade them. So our government decided that they'd send off to India and get them made in India. Because when they got them out here, they were too wide. They the doors weren't able to access the platform heights, even though they had all of the data to do the job properly. So it ended up, to try and get them fixed, they ended up sending them up to Maryborough to the company up there to fix them, and it cost them more than what it would have if they'd have got the mob at Maryborough to make them to start with. It's really strange, isn't it? Sometimes governments think that they're getting a good deal and getting something cheap, and it ends up costing them 10 times more. So, yeah, it's a bit sad.
And I real quick, I just saw Russ Rock and O Scale Railroad comment about the gen sets. For whatever reason, my brain just completely stopped working. I forgot NRE made gen sets.
Yeah.
So,
in reply to Dave's statement there, almost all model trains are made in China. I wouldn't say almost all, a large percentage, probably most. It depends on the company. For example, Hornby moved almost all their, Hornby in the UK moved, I think, all their production to China and Southeast Asia. But like my company, Merklin, 95% of their stuff is made in Europe. It's made in Germany and their factory in Hungary. Roco, it's an Austrian company, but big on continental Europe. 70% of their stuff is made in Austria, and they do have some Chinese stuff. So it really goes company by company. There are some companies that get their stuff made in China and it's high quality, but they have very strong corporate quality control people that are involved in China. Again, and I don't know American companies like I do European and UK companies. But for example, there's a company right now, Accurascale in the UK, that is making amazing trains, really high quality stuff. Now they are made in China, but Accurascale are very strict and tough on quality control, and they have people that go over there several times a year and make sure quality control is being followed, because that is a problem in countries like China or India, and that where quality control can be slack. I mean, they're not paying people fair wages. All right. We don't want to go politics, but let's talk reality without politics. Those people aren't paid. They are paid subsistence wages, and they are worked, and they are worked, and they are worked. And when somebody, they're just in there doing the thing because that's what they have to do. And if there's no pride in the job, it's not going to come out well. But if a company's willing to put the effort in, have quality control, make sure the workers are working better, and happier with their job, you'll get better stuff. Although again, China has the problem that a lot of the metals coming out of China are low grade. And I say this from the construction industry, where I've worked with people where they stopped importing screws and nails, even though probably 60% of the screws people buy off their shelves at the box stores, the Home Depots, the Lowe's, your B&Qs in the UK are made in China, but because the metal is low grade, you try to screw them in and they strip. Even in pre-drilled holes, because the quality of metal is so low. The alloys they're using to make these things is low grade. And I don't want to bash a country. I don't want to bash anything, but it is part of the issue when people talk about.
I think the problem there is most of those things that they have problems with recycled metals, because China buys the bulk of Australia's iron ore, which is classified as the highest level of iron ore in the world.
Yes, it is.
And that's the reason why they buy it. But I made the comment to someone the other day, I think that's so that they can build their warships and their military hardware with it, because everything else comes out as crap. So a lot of the other stuff I think is recycled. And that's why I bought a hammer a few weeks ago, and I only used it a couple of times, and it just sort of fell apart. It was all, and you could see all the little shiny, like crystals inside, and where it broke, it just literally shattered.
Yeah, and more susceptible to Mazrot. Well, I'm sorry, I keep using zinc rot. I'm so used to the German phrase Mazrot.
I've heard called zinc pest, but yeah, it's
zinc pest. Yeah. There's in German we say Mazrot or Mazpest. And then it's zinc pest or zinc rot. But yeah, and Robin just made one of the most brilliant points, is that China imports a lot, and they get some stuff from Europe, and they get the high grade stuff from Australia, but they're not using that for the stuff they're sending back out. They're using that for, like she said, like the military and everything else. Yeah. The Chinese are not going to make ships out of their own metal.
Yeah, actually, that's actually why the scale trains has delayed the XMTH stuff, is because when they bought the tooling from MTH with the steam engines, the tooling for the side rods did not come with the steam engines because they were made in, I believe I heard somewhere like India or somewhere like that. It was made in a different country than the rest of the locomotive was made. So they actually had to retool the side rods and everything for those steamers before they could pump them out to the public.
It's a shame, isn't it?
And I think both Dave and Russ talking about U.S. supervision of their companies over there helps, because, there's, I look at some of these American companies, and again, I have some channels here I watch. Like, for example, I watch Randall a lot when he does his reviews, because he's knowledgeable on the American stuff. He educates me on it, and he likes to show me these models offline as well as during live feeds and his live streams and his videos. And he shows me, this is an Athearn, this is an MTH or whatever. And he talks about the quality and look how it runs. And there are other channels that do that where I see, all right, these companies do make good quality. I mean, I watch enough videos from certain, like if I watch 100 American channels, which I don't watch that many, but if I watch 50 to 100 American channels, I will pick up what companies are consistently struggling, because guys are like, oh, I just got this from this company and it's struggling. And you pick that up. Same thing with UK channels. You hear guys talk about, oh, this latest model came out, and 20 channels out there are bashing the model. And you pick up how certain models are that. So, there's definitely very high quality American stuff out there, and there's high quality UK stuff out there. I know my German stuff. And again, a lot of it comes to, does the company keep the pressure on to maintain that quality control? Again, Hornby, now there's some people that get very upset if you downgrade Hornby. But Hornby definitely is very controversial. It's the biggest guy in the UK, followed by Bachmann. And there are people that are just diehard Hornby enthusiasts. But if you listen to most of them, Hornby definitely has had a quality slip off. And I can understand if you listen to the news, well, they changed factories in China. They moved some production to China. And when you change that, but also they've been cutting corners and using lower grade metals in China to save money. And they have not been strong on their quality control. And then from the Canadian channels, I mean, Chris is here, but he's somebody I watch. When he does a review, even if I'm never going to buy the model, I watch his stuff because he's so smart about this stuff. He's got connection. He knows some of these people in Canada, and he talks about companies, and I pick up like, well, if I ever decided I want a Canadian train, this is whose model I would look at if I wanted to add, because down the road, I would like to have a couple of Canadian locomotives to run on my DC track here. Someday, maybe American will make a Canadian national, an E44, since they've just done 4 American ones. It's not going to cost them any more money to change the paint scheme, and boom, now you've got a Canadian Pacific, or boom, you got a Canadian National. And that would be really cool, because I think Canadian liveries are really cool. Not to mention, I love the Go Via double deckers, however they call those Go Via trains. Not that I could buy all of them, but I like looking at them. So I like to listen to these people and learn what companies are putting out quality, because there's a company, it's a Canadian company, I believe, Rapido. And I hear both good and bad about Rapido, but Rapido has branched into the UK, and probably 70% of the stuff I hear from UK people about Rapido UK is negative. I hear mostly good about Rapido in Canada, but the Rapido UK, it gets bashed a lot on the UK channels. So, it's interesting.
I bought a Curascale Deltic, and the reason why was because in 81 long before I was interested in trains, my ex and I went over there, and we had to go down and have a look at the train at the front. It was called Talia, which was a really strange name. Anyway, a Curaçao brought out the Deltic, and Talia was one of the liveries, one of the names on the logos, and I thought, oh, I want to have one of them. It's 160 pounds, but my goodness, what a beautiful model. I mean, I just can't believe the detail in it is just, it's just unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got really good weight, so I would imagine that, you know, it's pulling power. I haven't really had much of a chance to run it with a load behind it, but it would be pretty good. So yeah, Curaçao is pretty great.
And then you got Bachmann, and of course in the UK, Bachmann is, I mean, in the UK, it is a war between Hornby lovers and Bachmann lovers. Who makes better? Who's the better company? And most reviews of Bachmann UK are very positive. But I hear a lot of negative about Bachmann USA and Bachmann Canadian stuff. So again, sometimes it's just a branch of your company.
With me, as far as Bachmann's concerned, Bachmann is kind of hit or miss for me.
Yeah.
I've had pretty bad luck with their steam engines in the past, but their diesels are actually not bad. I've actually had fairly decent luck with their diesel locomotives. So
I think Bachmann had a terrible reputation in the early days, though, didn't it? Because
they did, Robin. Back in the 80s, really from the 80s to about the early 2000s, they were, and their steam engines in particular, they were not good. They were notorious for the gears splitting on them. In fact, SMT Mainline actually talks about this quite a bit on his videos that he does on Bachmann stuff. They used, I think, a nylon gear, and they were pretty bad about splitting, and the axle shaft would actually spread, and then your wheels would fall off.
Yeah, because I've got that problem with
the
mechs that I use for building my end scale locos, and I had to go to a guy who actually does gears to do them. And when he checked it, he said that what they've done is they've just cast those gears in styrene. So the minute you put oil on them,
and I have a 210-4 from the 80s. That they called the Texas Choker. It was actually an early attempt at sound in steam engines. Which kind of humorously, you flip the switch on, even when the engine's sitting still, it sounds like it's going 100 miles an hour. Or it sounds like a machine gun going off. But anyway, that's beside the point. That engine, I found it at an antique store a couple of years ago. I tried to run it. It ran around the corner on my layout, and the wheels fell off of it immediately.
Yeah.
So
the guy that did the gears for me, it was an expensive exercise. But he makes gears for medical machinery and all that type of stuff, because making small gears is easy for him. And he's made mine out of Delrin, and they will never, ever cause any grief. And because, like you said, they're a friction fit, the styrene just expands after a while. They just did it on the cheap. Why they didn't use something like an industrial nylon or alternatively a Delrin is beyond me.
Right.
I suppose because they can't cast them.
And that's the thing, like, for example, here with my European models, gears are metal except for the lower end Pico stuff. Gears are still metal because metal's going to last longer than anything, and in most cases. But because plastic over time, you know, one of the things at the risk of, you know, I don't promote my channel because I might promote my trains. I do my live stream every Friday. I'm running my trains for 3 hours nonstop. Now, every now and then I have a glitch, a mechanical glitch where I did something wrong, like left the switch open or did not properly fit a coupling or whatever. But my trains run for 3 hours or more, and they run smoothly. They don't have issues. There aren't too many plastic gear trains that if you ran it 3 hours nonstop, plus they ran anywhere from half an hour to an hour of testing before my live stream. And plus, my grandson would have played with them for half an hour to an hour before I ran them in for the live stream. But they are good runners. With some trains, they'll run fine for an hour or so, and then you start to notice that, okay, because those plastic gears do build up friction heat, and they will expand or they will warp a bit, and then down the road you have those problems. Now I want to get into, for example, Russ, this comment I put up here, that's a whole conversation we could do 5 hours on, especially in America, because even though the model train hobby is still vibrant in America, the problem is the model train shops are fewer and far between. And yes, they don't generate money. Now, certain ones in bigger cities, that's their primary job and they can make money because they keep the sales going. But your small one in your small town, no, they better have something else. It better be a hobby. You know, like you said here, it's a supplement to retirement. Because, but the thing is, because most Americans aren't involved in the world of rail. You go to Europe, in the UK, and especially in Central Europe, which I model, those people ride trains all the time. So the trains are a part of their world. So there are still plenty of mom and pop model shops out there where that's their full-time job, because they keep the sales up, because even though there's online stores and you might be able to get it cheaper, there's in a town of 100,000 people, there's 4 or 5 or 6 model train shops that people will walk down the street and go buy their trains, because they just rode a train to work, they rode a train home, they went on vacation and rode a train. And so that exposure there. And then Chris was saying something about Rapido here. Yeah, you just, and they're always little nagging issues, aren't they, Chris? They're not something that, it's just little annoying things. It's little things that a little bit more quality control could have fixed or caught, and it wouldn't be a problem, because it's a beautiful model and it's got this one little problem that somebody missed in quality control. Okay, I'm done with that.
I was getting ready to say the hobby shop that's closest to where I'm staying at the hotel at, which is Hobbytown USA. You go in that store, and most of the people at shops in there are looking at things like RC cars, boats, the Gundam kits that they have, stuff like that. That's actually really big in this part of the area, oddly enough, which is heavily influenced by the railroad. Yet RC stuff is what sells big around these parts. So, in fact, I was just going to say, Robin, the hobby shop I used to go to in West Plains at Junction 14, the guy often told me for quite a while that ran it that I was the only guy that bought trains from him.
Mm.
Well, now, Dave, you just mentioned another giant, Kato.
Yep.
Kato, yes, they'll have the lemons. Yes, they'll have, like, one of their runs didn't go well. Something in production didn't go well. But overall, Kato in N scale, there's Kato and maybe a couple of European companies I might mention. Pico and Fleischmann do N scale, and they're very high quality. But still, Kato Arnold is another one I'd mention. Again, I only know the European companies. I'm sorry. I just learned the other day that Bachmann did N scale, and I'm like, what? And then Eric just posted about Bachmann N scale. I'm like, really? They do? I didn't know that. Yeah, Kato is just sort of up there. They are up here, and everybody else is a second or lower. Kato is just an amazing company.
And they practically own N scale.
Well, plenty of companies do well in N scale, but they dominate it for sure. And here's the best thing. My friend Christopher from the UK, Christopher Sabi blog, who does N scale and did Japanese N scale, although for some reason he takes a lot of stuff from some people in the UK for doing Japanese trains. Like they haven't gotten over World War II yet. But he met Mr. Kato himself. Mr. Kato came to a major, I think it might have been Warley in the UK, where he had his trains on display. And the one thing that impressed him is it was the Mr. Cotto. He's there at Warley meeting the ordinary people. And the Cotto had set up a little test area. Grab a train, here's boxes. Just grab one, open it, and put it and run it. And a little girl, something like Christopher said she was like 5 or 6, grabbed a train, ran it, and then picked it up, dropped it, and broke it. And the mother was upset. And Mr. Cotto said, "We've got plenty. It's okay. Grab another one and go play with it."
Wow.
And then he talked to Christopher, and Christopher says, "Oh, I love Cotto, and I've always wanted to go to Japan, but it's just haven't been. Well, you come to Japan. We're waiting for you. And here's a picture of us together. Click. Mr. Cotto took it. You come to Japan, and if you come to Japan, you show them this picture. You get into my shop free, and our specialty museum shop. You get in free, and when you have that kind of ownership and pass it on down, of course the quality is going to be there. It's an amazing story from the guy. Atlas and Scale are very good. All right, and there's a guy that knows about N Scale, and again, my buddy Eric here. Collects N Scale, and he does one of the cool types of collections. He doesn't collect an era. He doesn't collect a country. He collects favorite trains from all around the world. So he's got a German. You got an ICE 4, didn't you? He's got ICE 3 or ICE 4. He's got a Thalys. He's got a TGV. He's got a couple of Shinkansen. The Japanese bullet train. He's got them all, and he's currently building his layout, but. He has to fight through some things, but he's got an amazing collection of N scale trains. I'm really jealous of them in a lot of ways, because that's one thing I would like to get a Shinkansen and HO, just because my colleague before I retired always said he would come over if I ever could find a Shinkansen HO. But not only do I have to find it in HO, I have to find it in 3-rail.
Yeah, speaking of that Shinkansen set, probably one of the coolest ones I saw was a few years back, and I've told this story probably a couple times now, and it's probably on this show and then on my own channel. But the Neon Genesis Evangelion Shinkansen train set was probably one of the coolest looking train sets I've ever seen. And all I can say is, if you can find one, good luck and be ready to pay up for it, because they are selling. If you can find one, you're looking at probably $1,000 at least for the set.
Okay, I do got to wrap this up. I'm pleased we went 2 hours, but I do want to end with panel thoughts on GoViasCon. A big comment somebody made online is, when did the customer become the QC, and do we have thoughts on that? I think that's a very valid statement, that many companies now use the customer's QC. We're going to release it, and then if we got a lot of complaints, well, we'll fix it. And we shouldn't be QC with the prices of new release trains at the prices they are. Now, understand, like in the UK, I hear these guys complain they're still paying less than I pay for my locomotives out of Germany, but they're not used to paying those prices. And the new companies like Acura Scale are starting to charge mainline European prices for their product, but they're at the same quality as that mainline Europe. But we shouldn't be quality control. When we're paying that kind of money and our local shops are disappearing, and we have to go through all the hassle if something's wrong with it to send it back. Yes, Rapido is very good at, it's wrong, we'll send you a new one. We'll send you this part. Not all companies like that, but no, we shouldn't be quality control. The quality control should be built into the price, so that when we buy it, we know what we're getting. In American, when I buy a new American locomotive, I expect it's going to run well out of the box. I know I do my first impressions videos where I'm not reviewing the loco. I'm just saying, let's watch it. Roco's got pretty good quality control, but there's a couple times where they released an AC locomotive that I've tested, and a couple of them, I just felt like there is something wrong. And it might be a CV value issue. It might be something else. But again, I expect my Rocos to come out of the box and run perfectly. I expect my Americans that when I put them on here, they're going to run well. There are some companies I don't expect to do that. They make beautiful locos, but they don't make the best motors to run them. The motors run fine. They just don't have a lot of strength. I've got a beautiful locomotive that, well, I'll show it real quick. Let me grab it here. And I'm gonna make myself big for a change here.
Yeah, go ahead.
This is by a Austrian company called Jägendorfer Collection. This is a beautiful locomotive. Let me get the details up here. This was an actual locomotive. There was a real one that ran like this. Austria and Germany were doing famous composer livery celebrating all the great. So there's a Mozart one. And both Jägendorfer Collection and the Austrian company Rocco were putting them all out. It's an amazingly detailed Rocco. This thing runs very well. It's Jägendorfer Collection. It runs very well as long as it's on a flat surface and not pulling a lot of stuff. If I want this to go up the little incline I have on the back of my layout and it's pulling 3 cars, 4 cars, it struggles because Jägendorfer Collection motors sometimes are not the best. They're good. They're not great. And sometimes you need a great motor to pull 6 or 7, 8 passenger cars up an incline. And so this is a very good locomotive, although if you watch this when I run it on my layout, and I actually plan on running it this next Friday, it can creep you out because Mozart's always staring at you. But an amazing locomotive. But yeah, it is an issue. We should not be quality control. The company needs to have quality control. They need to extensively test their product before it goes out to make sure, including running it up inclines and all that. Your guys' thoughts, and then we'll close this out because it's already after 10, and a certain wife is going to be wondering, where the hell am I?
Well, I think also that the quality control should be built into the model as well. But it's kind of interesting Chris brought that up because I think Menards actually did something like this where they built when they were building their budget line F units in O scale, that they actually made a set number of copies and then sold them to people for them to get their opinions on them. And some of it was positive, some of it was negative. So,
well, there'll always be a lemon in the run. Okay,
yeah.
You can run 10,000 locomotives down an assembly line, and 1 or 2 will somehow get out, even if it's going to be a great model. And so you'll always find that one person like, I think mine sucks, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the first thing I'll say is this was my experience. It's not anybody else. But there are certain companies, certain things that, again, when I go to all my German sites, my Austrian sites, the European stuff, you hear what companies, but sometimes you can be pleasantly surprised. I've got a Mahano train from the 90s that a friend sold me really cheap. And normally I hear bad things about Mahano, and this thing's an amazing locomotive. And people say it just depends on what line from Mahano you get. Pico, P-I-K-O, the German company, they have 3 lines. Their high quality line is great. Their middle quality line is great. Their hobby level stuff, it's hit and miss. And the only problems with any of my European locos I've ever bought were my Pico hobby. I've bought 3 Pico hobby locomotives, and 2 of them were kind of iffy after a year or 2 of usage. All right, good night, Eric. Take care.
Yeah, you're gonna have a dud in just about anything you buy at some point. There's just no way around it. And it doesn't matter where the locomotive is made at. You know, you're going to have at least one person that's going to get a dud. So.
Okay.
Anyway, Anthony, thank you for looking after Artie's channel for him. You've done a good job, mate. I really,
thank you.
Really have enjoyed listening in, even though I haven't been a part of it. But yeah,
it's
been a really good.
Always a part of it, and it's always wonderful to have you here.
Thank you.
because you do amazing work, and a lot of people do amazing work, but yours is there for us all to see, and your visits here are always very cool to hear.
And Randall, I hope you get some work. My goodness.
Well, we're going to find out probably next week what things are going to look like. They're saying it's pretty busy at theirs, so like I said, we'll find out what happens when I go back. So
I'm just surprised you've been in that hotel that long and haven't had a. Never mind.
Yeah, well,
Haven't had a kangaroo. And it's good to see your trains running, Peyton.
Yeah.
Yeah, Peyton's got some cool models.
Been watching them running around. It's been pretty cool.
but I'll be glad when I get back home and get back to the regular layout. So
Yeah, good.
it'll be nice to start running trains again there. So.
And just quickly, Anthony, you said that you're going to be doing Artie's channel on Saturday.
Artie,
Is it Saturday your time?
Artie will be here, as in, well, not this chair. This is my chair. He'll be in this chair on Saturday doing his live stream. But
now
Artie
Anthony
will be on his stream, but he'll be here.
Okay.
Is he going? Is he going to Tammy and Ray's after that, or do you know?
I don't. He goes back to, I think, South Carolina after here.
Okay. Because I know he said he was going to visit Tammy and Ray, but I can't remember when.
He's already been there, I think.
He's already been there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he started in South Carolina, but he's circling.
Okay.
Like a vulture.
I wouldn't put it that way, but I won't argue either.
All
No,
right,
I was just
guys.
going to say, if Artie's listening, when I get back home, I'll have him shoot me that address so I can mail it to him at E8.
Well, you could mail it to me.
Well, what time? What days is he going to be there? Next Friday and Saturday?
He'll be here Friday. I got to pick him up Friday sometime.
Yeah, if I make it home like
more than a week, but I mean, if you mailed it out Monday, you could do the 3-day mail. I mean, I could.
Yeah, it probably won't be Monday.
I could pay you to send the 3-day mail.
Yeah, it probably won't be Monday because I don't have the engine with me. It's actually at my house. So
yeah,
at the earliest it would be Tuesday. So.
But Artie will also be guesting on my my live stream, so it'll be Artie and me together on Friday, and Artie and me together on Saturday. So it could be the apocalypse. If John Ricardo actually shows up, it will be the apocalypse. So anyhow, on that note, because Mrs. Dodge is wondering why I'm not coming to bed yet, I'm going to say thank you all for being here. Peyton, thank you for showing us your amazing trains, letting us watch you work.
Yeah, no problem. I have about 26 of them.
Cool. And we should have had you bring that CSX up a little bit because Sparky was here earlier, although he loves Conrail more. Yeah, we're going to have to get a Conrail on the show. It'll keep Sparky's interest. So anyhow,
all right.
I want to thank you all for being here tonight. I want to wish you all, Randall, thank you for coming in and keeping me busy, keeping me company, along with Robin and Peyton for coming up. And I will see you all on whatever your streams you are doing. And then I will be on my show doing my thing on Friday.
All right, Anthony. Thank you, mate.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks,
Take
Anthony.
care, everybody.
See you guys.
See ya.
Toodles.
Bye.
See you.